अस्सलाम वालेकुम। अल्लाह ताला आपको सलामती, सेहत, तंदुरुस्ती, खुशहाली और आफ़ियत नसीब फरमाए। आमीन। प्लीज़ मेरे चैनल को लाइक कीजिएगा, सब्सक्राइब कीजिएगा, बेल आइकन के बटन को दबा दीजिएगा ताकि मैं बहुत सी इन्फॉर्मेटिव वीडियो आपके लिए लेकर आता रहूँ। तो चलते हैं वीडियो की तरफ।
The Shias hold that the Islamic tax zakat should be distributed by themselves and not by the state. So ironically, Zia faces Islamic opposition, so far peaceful, to his Islamic laws. Even more controversial is Zia's determination to impose the severest Islamic punishments, some of which have been enforced under martial law orders inherited from the British.
We started off from a point which, in my opinion, was most pertinent from the point of view of impact on the society. And impact on society, in my opinion, is from laws which look a little stringent.
Many people say that the Islamic punishments that you have instituted are in fact barbaric and inhuman, and in fact contravene the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights. What would you say?
No, I would say that these punishments are just right. They're not barbarian. They're not against the human rights. But
how can you say that, sir?
Because I give you, because there are these serious punishments like stoning a man to death, chopping off a hand, or the lashes. The lashes are also being administered scientifically.
We filmed in Saudi Arabia a flogging which was just a tapping which was to humiliate.
Yes.
What is happening here is different.
Yes, but what has happened here so far has not happened under the Islamic laws. It has happened under the martial law.
How can you say that you don't contravene the Declaration of Human Rights if you stone somebody to death or you chop off somebody's hand? There's a case coming up in Multan, for instance.
It has already been through, practically.
Has the hand been amputated?
Not yet. It will be.
Most people would call that inhuman.
Yes, but this is the way of life. This is the way of thinking. I think it is absolutely within the rights of human beings. Because if today we can reform the society by some stringent measures, I think it will put them right.
Is it a reforming society?
This is my way of thinking. And another point is that these stringent punishments are only as a deterrent. They are a deterrent in the sense that every time a man makes a theft, it does not mean his hand is to be chopped off within 2 minutes.
You have no conflict at all in your mind, sir?
None whatsoever.
You find your conscience is clear?
My conscience is clear by 200%.
Listening to the substance behind the orders and slogans, many wonder how meaningful Islamification is for Pakistan. Zia's critics allege that he's merely using it to paste over the cracks and employing the army to enforce his rule. But what is more disturbing is that he now proposes to institutionalize the army's role politically. And for this, there is no precedent in Islam. But the critics don't worry Zia.
What I want is that a constitutional role for the armed forces must be a part of the constitution so that you don't have to impose the fourth martial law. We have had 3 martial laws. Now mind you, this again is my personal view. And also a view of some of my associates. But that does not mean I'm going to thrust this on the people. All these things which are in my mind, we are going to put them before a legal body, have them examined thoroughly, and then after examination, put them to the politicians. And if the majority agrees, we will do that. If the majority does not agree, then we will not.
But then how can you put it constitutionally? Because by the 73 Constitution, to amend the Constitution, you need 2/3 majority of the National Assembly.
Yes. But by virtue of my being a Chief Martial Administrator, I have been authorized by the Supreme Court to amend the Constitution under the law of necessity.
Why are you doing this? Isn't this un-Islamic?
No, if you take it from the very critical angle, the Constitution itself may be un-Islamic. But the role of the armed forces cannot be un-Islamic because armed forces are there for the security and the sagacity and the safety of the nation.
How do you see their role? I mean, how many seats will they have, for instance?
None. I do not expect that the army generals will come and sit in the National Assembly, no. What we foresee is that the army and the armed forces the top echelons would be directly owing their allegiance to the President of Pakistan, would at the right time be consulted, and if the situation so demand, they would act accordingly in accordance with the instructions by the President of Pakistan. This is what I foresee.
But how does that reconcile with the Islamic democratic system?
Our present system is also not totally Islamic. So a little bit of hodgepodge and a little bit of hodgepodge will remain hodgepodge.
Despite his critics, Zia has recently inaugurated an Islamic novelty, the Majlis. In Saudi Arabia, the Majlis is truly Islamic, giving any citizen access to his ruler. Here, only a selected few can get to Zia. And a Majlis is a poor substitute for the elections he promised within 3 months of taking power. That was 2 years ago. As with so much in Pakistan, Zia will decide when the elections will be.
This is for the good of the country and good of the politicians, not so much for my good health.
Who decides that, sir?
I will. I'm a martial administrator, you're forgetting. I am a martial administrator. But
then you're imposing with respect,
no,
sir. Aren't you?
exactly. These are my ideas. I would consult all the political leaders and I will decide what the general consensus demands.
And what about Pakistan's General Zia? Does he see resurgent Islam as a future military power in the world?
No, because Islam does not believe in rule by power or invasion for the sake of the faith. Because after the Prophet, if Islam was spread out in the whole of the world, it was not by sword.
There's reputed that you are starting an Islamic pool of arms, and particularly an atomic pool. Is that true?
No, this is wrong. This is propaganda, publicity. They have even named it. They said Ziaul Haq is going to make a bomb and it is the Muslim bomb. As if it has special ingredients of plutonium and uranium which is only applicable to the Muslim countries.